Welcome to Beyond Vows and Veils, your luxury wedding experience. Our podcast, I feel, is a treasure trove of inspiration and insight for newly engaged couples. Join us as we have captivating stories, expert insight, and real wedding experiences that you can listen and learn from. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond Vows and Veils. Thank you again for joining me each week to listen, learn, and discover more ways that you can make more informed decisions on your wedding planning journey. So today we're diving into a game changer in the wedding industry. I'm talking about none other than Honeyfund. So many of my couples are now opting for digital registries instead of like traditional home goods or cash envelopes. So if you've ever wondered how to request honeymoon or other contributions in a way that feels not so awkward and a little bit more comfortable and natural, this episode is definitely for you. So joining me is Sara Margulis. She is the powerhouse CEO and co-founder of Honeyfund. So if you're not familiar with what Honeyfund is, it is the OG honeymoon registry that allows couples to receive contributions from friends and family towards their honeymoon fee-free. So since its Shark Tank debut in 2014, the platform has helped over 1.4 million couples fund nearly $1 billion in travel gifts. So for any of my Indian brides out there who are used to receiving gift envelopes at the wedding or are often having to request no-box gifts on their wedding invitations, Honeyfund might be the perfect modern alternative. So stay tuned as we dive into this really exciting episode. And don't forget to please comment, like, share, and subscribe to our podcast and help build the community that we have. Hey, everyone. Sara, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate you coming on to chat with us about Honeyfund. We're really excited to dive into it.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. I'm really excited to be here.
For sure. So I always like to start with obviously your journey. So can you tell me a little bit of background about yourself, like how Honeyfund sort of came to be, what inspired you to create this amazing honeymoon registry app, or, just tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Honeyfund started really out of my own necessity. It was 2005. I was planning my own wedding and I didn't need any more stuff, and I didn't live in my forever home, so it was like no point in, registering for all the traditional housewares. And we really wanted to go on a pretty elaborate honeymoon. We wanted to go to Fiji for 2 weeks, and after paying for our own wedding, there wasn't a lot of money left over for the honeymoon. So I started researching, this idea of honeymoon registries, and there were a few options out there, but they were a little bit outdated and they were really expensive. They were charging like 9% in fees, which I just thought was insane. That was like another night on our honeymoon. We would have given up in fees if we'd used one of those. So my then fiance put together a makeshift sort of wish list of things we were going to do on our honeymoon, and our friends and family went crazy for it and gave us more than $5,000, and we went on our dream trip to Fiji. And then really when we got back, they were raving about the concept, like, oh man, other couples could really use this. You guys should create a site around this concept. So almost a year later, Honeyfund was born in March of 2006, and we'll be celebrating 19 years next month.
Which is wild. That's so crazy. Congratulations. That's no small feat.
Thank you.
That's no small feat. I will say, piggybacking off what you just shared about honeymoons in general, I'll be honest with you, I run into the same thing with my couples. It's kind of like the honeymoon it's a thought, but it's sort of an afterthought because you're planning this. We obviously specialize more in cultural events, and they're hosting like these large scale multi-day events. And so they're just trying to wrap their head around getting through that to a certain extent. And then a lot of them are either in their residency or, really thick into their career. So then again, there's only so much time you can take off. And so I get that the honeymoon sometimes takes the back seat, but in your experience, being in this specific niche market for so long, what would you say, how important is it for couples to prioritize going on a honeymoon, just to kind of like seal the whole wedding planning experience? And what's your take on that?
I really firmly believe that couples should start their marriage off with a honeymoon. And not just because that's my business, but because our research shows that couples who take a honeymoon are more likely to be happily married more than a decade later than couples who didn't take a honeymoon. And that stat still gives me goosebumps every time I say it
Yeah.
because we knew, that we were making dream honeymoons happen and, at Honeyfund, that we were here with a purpose. But when we learned that information, it was like a light bulb, like, oh my God, we're not only here for this important moment in your wedding journey, but we're also here for the happily ever after, and
Yeah.
that really like meant so much to me because I actually went through a divorce from Honeyfund's
Mm.
co-founder, and I would never wish that on anyone. I,
Yeah.
definitely want to dedicate all that I can towards helping couples have a successful marriage. So, there's all kinds of reasons why travel and honeymoon specifically are good for marriage. I think one is just like, okay, you've just been through something really intense and really stressful, but also really joyous. And there's like a processing time. You need to take a beat to unwind after the wedding, to, revel in all the memories you made and
Yeah.
talk about what didn't work and talk about, your next financial goal and kind of like breathe it all out, and
Hmm.
start your marriage off like really looking towards the future. I mean,
Yeah.
also you when you travel, you have time to bond together away from the stress and pressure of everyday life. And that's why our couples report wanting to continue travel throughout their marriage is about, quality time together.
Yeah. Definitely couldn't agree more. I think very well said because, again, it's like otherwise you just kind of get back into your routine and, it is a lot because you're almost working kind of like a second job planning this event and then all that time sort of gets freed up again and I'm with you. It's almost like you've given birth to this amazing event, but you didn't take the time to really like nurture yourself to like the next stage of where you're going to be in your relationship. So I think that's actually brilliant to say. One of the things, Sarah, that I think that we just like can't avoid, we have to talk about at least is Shark Tank. I think obviously you probably get asked about this all the time. And I know that was a while ago that obviously, you landed that deal with Kevin O'Leary and that was really exciting. Just in general, how do you think that that whole situation impacted Honey Fund and obviously where you guys are now?
Yeah, it's funny. The Shark Tank opportunity came to us. We had already done about 200 million in gifting on the platform in, I think
Yeah.
this was like 2013. And somebody on the cast or crew of Shark Tank had heard about Honey Fund and recommended us to casting. And so they reached out to us and invited us to apply. We had to go through the whole application process and everything, but they did cast us. And, it was really um, a moment of like reinforcement that what we were doing was important and that the Honey Fund brand was loved. We were of course so nervous about walking into the Shark Tank and remembering all of our numbers and performing well under the lights and the cameras and the pressure of the six sharks or five sharks sitting there staring at you, pummeling questions at you. But like right before we went in, we were in our trailer waiting to be called in to tape. And there was another company that was taping that day. It was I think two brothers. And when we just started chatting with them, and when we told them what we do, the guy was like, "What? You're the founders of Honeyfund? Oh my God, my sister's using that platform right now. We have to call her and tell her that we're here with you guys. Like, you guys are so amazing. You're so famous. Like, they were like, they just built us up as like we."
Yeah.
I felt like somebody hired them to come and just like pump us up right before we walked into the
Yeah.
Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And then while we were in the tank and we started talking about our 200 million in gifting, the sharks really sat up and they were like, oh, okay, this is like a legitimate business. So all of that, I think, really built a lot of confidence in us that Honey Fund was a real thing. And of course, getting the deal from Kevin was a great gift to our brand and to us as entrepreneurs. Kevin's one of the more involved sharks, I would say. He's really accessible. He's been part of our Honey Fund community now for 10 years. And, I could call or text him right now and he would pick up. He's really been such a great support and a great person to know. He's opened doors for us and, made sure that he continues to talk about Honey Fun in the Shark Tank and on TV appearances. He's invited me to TV appearances multiple times. So, yeah, it's been like life changing, completely life changing.
Yeah, that's amazing to have a partner like that, obviously, because I sort of felt the same way when we reached out to you actually to kind of be a part of this podcast because I had had so many brides recently talking about Honey Fund, and I just think it's great. I think it's a great concept. Obviously, we're huge fans of it, and one of the things I wanted to kind of pick your brain about as well, just is the development of Honey Fund over the course of these 19 years, because initially it kind of did start right with the original just kind of fun shopping honeymoon experiences, like buy the massage for the couple or contribute to the accommodations. Like, where is Honey Fund now? Like, how has it evolved, would you say, over the past 19 years? Just to kind of open the lens to couples who, especially for my clientele, I'll say, in the cultural realm, for people who are listening right now, that gifting is such a tradition, right?
Yeah.
In some of the cultures that I work with, and so how can couples you embrace this, right, and kind of maybe supporting them to steer their guest in these directions.
Honeyfund is essentially the gift of cash, and it
Hmm.
always has been. One of the things that's been really important for us, though, is that from a giver's perspective, they know they're contributing that money towards something like
Hmm.
really fun, like an experience for the couple that they're going to love and cherish forever, a memory, right? And it really works well for couples who just don't need more stuff, right? But for us, what was always really important is to keep it free. And when we started the platform, there was no such thing as crowdfunding. There was no GoFundMe. There was barely even like social media or smartphones when we started Honey Fund.
Yeah.
So like so much has changed. But one thing that has never changed is our commitment to a fee-free platform. And for many years, we were kind of like the low-cost leader. Of course, there's credit card processing fees and things involved in moving money from one person to another. About a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, we cracked the code on completely fee-free gifting. So that's one thing that I feel like has really allowed us to continue to be not just like a great idea for couples, but like really work for them. We also have really started looking at how we can apply our 18 years of honeymoon data towards some honeymoon booking and planning tools. So creating a way for couples to come in and not just fund their honeymoon and kind of like imagine what they're doing and put it on a list, but actually find out what they're doing, create an itinerary, and then have that become their registry and talk back and forth with their registry. So that's been really exciting to dream up, and that's going to be in development this year.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
amazing, actually.
yeah, thank you. And then along the lines of the happily ever after, we're starting to design for like a second honey fund use case. So baby moons, anniversary trips, things that are into the marriage, really supporting that couple to continue to use the benefits of travel towards a strong marriage into their forever together.
I really love that. And, as you're sharing it, one of the things that I know, even just personally being invited to events, I've been invited where the registry was kind of very, your standard run of the mill, kind of go to Crate and Barrel or whatever. And then I've also been invited where it's like Venmo the
Yeah.
couple.
Yeah.
And I will say for anyone listening, like Venmoing the couple kind of gives me the ick. It's just like, I don't know if that's just me, but it's like if I'm going to gift somebody something, like even if they essentially say change their itinerary, let's say, like, oh, instead of the massage, they decided to get dinner, whatever. But at the same time, like me as the gifter, I feel like there's a sense of pride in the gift that I've given, as opposed to just like, let me just Venmo them like it's a pizza
Totally.
delivery. You know what I mean? It's just, I feel like there's a very special transaction that your platform offers that I've not seen anywhere else that allows couples to have a little bit more control.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's all about the etiquette of wedding gifting. And, wedding etiquette is probably one of the biggest strongholds in the world of etiquette that like still hangs on. Like we have ways that we do things. And it really does come down to like social graces and like
Hmm.
being, gracious about accepting gifts from your friends and family. And yeah, they're going to get you a gift either way.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Like putting your Venmo on your wedding website or whatever to me just does not feel like it's supporting that special moment between a wedding guest and their couple when it comes to the gifting. So yeah, we've always really cared for that. And what we hear from our givers is like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I can't believe like I didn't have a honey fund when I got married. I wish I knew about it. I would much rather buy, an excursion or some kind of like part of the honeymoon that they'll remember forever than like some towels. So
Yeah.
we know that
Yeah.
givers absolutely love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Curious on just because I get couples that ask me this question, how is the platform set up in terms of how does the couple get the money or the items towards it? Is it just a direct deposit into their bank account or like how does that work?
Mhm. Yeah, there's two ways to set it up. By default, you'll get a Honeyfund wallet, and when your friends and family contribute, the money will sit there for you. One reason that we did it that way instead of direct to bank is that a lot of times when that money goes direct to your bank account, it gets mixed up with the rest of your daily life and your wedding
Mhm.
expenses and everything, and all of a sudden you're just like, wait, how much money do we have for our honeymoon?
Right,
You know?
right, right.
So
What was
like
this contribution? Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
exactly. So like making sure that that money is there for you when you're ready for it and that it's
Hmm.
going to be for your honeymoon is super important to us. And then from there, you can request it out to your Venmo or PayPal, or you can spend it on up to 200 gift card brands. So we have like all the major sort of travel brands in there, hotels.com, booking.com, Airbnb is a super popular one,
Hmm.
Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, cruise lines. If you want, instant access to those funds, let's say you're going to go book your celebrity cruise or whatever, you can grab that gift card and just go ahead. If you're going to cash it out to PayPal, Venmo, it's going to take a few days just because there's a lot of fraud gates we have to get through to make sure that your
Sure.
money's secure and
Of course.
that our platform isn't being abused.
Right.
But it's totally all of that is completely fee free for the giver and for the couple, which that to us is like the most important thing. And people are very much willing to wait a few extra days for the convenience of the cash, but knowing that it's safe and that it was free.
Absolutely. I think that that's brilliant because I was just about to ask like if it went directly into their bank account right away because I was like that would be yeah, like so
Yeah.
confusing with the other bills and things. Does
Mhm.
Honeyfund have like partnerships with I mean you just mentioned like cruises and airlines. Like what do those partnerships look like or is there
Mhm.
anything that the couples could be utilizing in terms of that beyond just, kind of the outline or itinerary and things to that end?
Yeah, so we already partner with dozens of wonderful, travel brands. For example, Hilton is one of our major partners,
Okay.
and we do tons of content around the most honeymoon-worthy Hilton properties. So let's say that you're a Hilton Honors member and you really want to make sure that you're like loyal to that brand and getting all your points for your honeymoon. We're gonna tell you like which properties to go to, what the benefits are of each of those properties, and give you,
Hmm.
the best deals that they have going at the time. And then, of course, we're also leveraging a lot of these partnerships to build that travel booking tool so that you can actually
Hmm.
create your whole honeymoon itinerary, get it booked, and follow along as the different pieces of it are getting funded through your honey fund.
So is it kind of like that you have a little bit of a concierge going on with Honey Fund a little bit in terms of like
Yeah.
planning and things to that end for the honeymoon?
That's what we're building is going to be much more of like a smart sort of imagine like a travel agent who's planned, 1.4 million honeymoons. That's
Oh,
the power
wow.
of the data that we have behind all of
Wow.
our past account holders. And so we can recommend like, oh, you want to go to Italy? Have you considered these cities? Have you considered these tours and excursions in Rome or
Hmm.
in,
Hmm.
Milan? Because we know that past couples have gone there and enjoyed those places. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what's coming. But what you can find now is exclusive deals through our partnerships, top honeymoon resorts around the world, blog content that deep dives into destinations. So yeah, there's a lot to discover in the way it works today.
I love that. I think that's fabulous because I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how many times that we've had the standard gift box out at the cocktail reception, and I get asked by like the uncle or aunties, and they'll be like, "Hey, can you move the gift box inside the ballroom? We just want to make sure we keep our eyes on it." And like everyone's hawk-eyeing the gift box throughout the course of the evening. It's like,
Yeah, it's really important. And we hear this a lot from, couples from cultures that, where cash is kind of the priority gift. It can be a security issue and people are really nervous about it all night long. So a
yeah.
honey fund is perfect for those couples because you can still give just a general contribution on the page,
Hmm.
but you can also kind of have it going towards fun things you're going to do on your honeymoon.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we're getting into like the wedding website development, we're sending those save the dates out, we're sending the invitation out. Usually on the wedding website, we'll have some sort of a link that goes to obviously their registry. And then on that registry, if we don't have a registry, usually it's like that's monetary gifts is kind of what we consider. If like nothing's listed, if you want to bring something, bring it. But when they put it on their wedding website, is there any advice you have? This might be silly, but I get this question a lot from my couples, so I know that they're going to want me to ask you. How do they approach their parents' friends who are maybe a little bit more old school when it comes to like, hey, we're not really doing the envelope thing? Like, is there a more appropriate way to ask for them to use that platform as opposed to give cash? Like, people naturally, I get it. Some people will just kind of do that. But is there a way that you've seen to be successful to kind of support maybe a different generation or different crowd?
No, I love that you asked this question. One thing that we see go wrong for couples is when like they have a wedding website where there's like built-in registry tools and everything drives the visitors to their page towards, the store registries, and the
Mm,
honey fund links get kind of buried. So we actually, our site also functions as a full service wedding webpage. So you can put
okay.
everything about your wedding, you can post updates about, you can post accommodations and any other store registries you have. But because you're on a Honeyfund page, which is all geared towards, the cash gifting, it just makes it like more natural for the giver to just do that first. The
Hmm.
other thing we would suggest is in your greeting, just saying like, "Hey, we're not going to have a box because of security concerns. If you were planning
Sure.
to give us a cash gift, this is the page to do it on." And that just
Yeah.
lets guests know like what your plans are and in a really like innocuous way. So they just
Hmm.
need to know what to do, right? Like guests have
Right.
like
Right.
two or three things that they care about. When is it? Where is it? What am I giving? That's pretty
Yeah.
much
You're totally right.
yeah.
What
So
am I
like
wearing, maybe? Like, what's the weather?
what I'm wearing exactly. What's the
Yeah.
dress code?
Yeah.
Maybe where am I supposed to stay? All of that stuff is right on your Honeyfund
Okay.
page, and it just makes it so much simpler. A lot of the big multi-page wedding websites, they feel like fun to put together from the couple's point of view, from the guest point of view. It's like how many pages do I have to dig through to find out those three or four things that I actually need to know,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
the rest I'm
Yeah.
going to find out at the wedding. I'm going to find out about your bridesmaids and your groomsmen. I'm going to find out, give me like those three or four pertinent things. So that's why we designed the page to be really
Hmm.
like straightforward. I mean, we have incredible, beautiful designs. We have lots of multicultural themes on Honey Fun that you can choose
Okay.
from. So there's like, it can still be that special sort of page that you created that matches your
Hmm.
wedding colors or whatever, but it's designed to make it really user friendly for guests and to drive the best possible outcome for you in terms of the gifts. We
Hmm.
also just launched a guest management and RSVP tool. So you can actually upload your entire guest list, send the RSVP QR codes or links out to your guests, and manage everything right there. And then when they're done RSVPing, they go right off to check out your page and give a gift. So it's just really easy and simple for them.
Hmm. I actually love that because that was going to be my next question, Sarah, because I could talk about wedding websites for a long time. Like my office
Me
knows I'm very
too.
particular about the wedding website. I'm like such a nerd with that. But for me, it's like, especially for Indian weddings, because we're hosting 3 or 4 days of different functions. Some people are only invited to select events. So then you have to go and upload and then toggle to the private functions. And then on top of that, the RSVP platform, sending the e-blast. It's like a whole complex thing. I love the idea for couples to maybe just move that experience over because some of the platforms that we've been using, obviously, the Knot, or I've been using Appy Couple a lot because Appy Couple seems to have a lot of the functionalities that we go for with couples. But I actually had no idea that you had like a whole wedding website that they actually could just use to streamline the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, we don't yet support the multi-event feature, but
Sure,
it is something
sure.
that couples have been asking for and that we have been starting to design for.
Okay.
Appy Couple is amazing. I've, known those founders for years and years. The
Yeah.
only thing is it's paid, right? Honey Fund is totally paid.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense, which is pretty amazing. The fact that you are. What made you decide to be fee free, aside from obviously your personal experience with like, not wanting the credit? I mean, was that a big decision for you, or was it just like a no-brainer? We're not going to ever charge a fee?
Yeah, I think it really came from our own experience and like especially coming to honeymoon registries pretty early and
Hmm.
finding these platforms that were just charging like ridiculous fees.
Hmm.
And so we were just like, we didn't want to charge our our wedding guests to give us money, and we didn't want to have to like eat some of that cost of processing. So that was
Hmm.
really where it started. But then over time, it really became about like making it the best we can for our members, and making sure that they have all their needs met and that their friends and family all feel good, because there's already sort of a question mark around giving cash, right? For a lot of different couples, like
Right.
the traditional sort of American wedding registry etiquette,
Hmm.
used to say like, don't ask for cash. Now it's like, well, you can, but if only if it's like for your honeymoon or for something specific.
Hmm.
Um, and so, we really wanted to like take away one more objection to just asking for what you want, which is
Right.
like a
Right.
honeymoon.
Right.
So yeah, it's been one of those things where, for me, it's been like a personal challenge to like get it right and figure it out and monetize
Hmm.
this business without having to put that on our couples and their wedding
Yeah.
guests.
Yeah. No, I think that makes complete sense. Yeah, I was just curious, but no, I think it's a fabulous offering personally. I've had so many more of my couples doing it. I think that slowly but surely we're getting over kind of the cultural and traditional hump of saying, hey, this is still definitely can be a traditional gift. It's just done in a little bit more of a modern way. And I think that it's just something that I've noticed more and more families are embracing. And just for couples who are listening, I feel like family word of mouth is very supportive too. Like, cue in your parents, maybe sister, brother, I don't know, whoever's heavily involved, so that when family members are asking them about your wedding, which naturally they're going to in the year that you're planning or whatever, they can also be educated enough to say, hey, they actually have this really cool thing that they're doing. They're planning their trip to Italy or whatever it is, and that gets people even more excited about it, because the more you can even educate the people that are helping you, that will be talking to the people coming, I think that's also a big support in your direction.
Totally, you're hired, Brittany.
It's like, get your sales force together, get that honeymoon paid for. Um, Another random question I have for you before we kind of conclude here is, let's say a couple's worked with you for their honeymoon. Are they able to revisit coming back to Honey Fund for like maybe an anniversary and things like that? Or is it kind of just only come to us for the wedding and then we're done with you?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we're building. We really hope that couples will continue to use Honey Fun, and that their friends and family will continue to contribute to their next honeymoon. This is like
Yeah.
a way I'm trying to expand the use of the word honeymoon to mean not just that first trip, but like any
Yeah.
romantic travel you take together as a married couple, because
Yeah.
you have to be reminded sometimes of, why you're in love and what you love about each other outside of the
Yeah.
pressures of everyday life. And that continued travel is so important for a healthy relationship. So we've
Yeah.
actually, we did a bunch of research last year where we surveyed honeyfund couples, past and current, wedding guest givers that used the platform in the past, and just the general population, just to find out like what did they think about this concept of anniversary honey fund or a baby moon or a honey fund. And people like overwhelmingly loved it. And what was interesting is that couples like really want to be able to do that. They really, really
Yeah.
do. But they, of course, worry about how it'll be perceived.
Yeah.
And, the wedding guest audience, the general population of the who would give to it, like are totally interested in giving to it.
Hmm.
But, there's just that little bit of etiquette hurdle to get over. Well, that's what we did with Honey Fund almost 20 years ago. And we're
Right.
totally confident we can do that again. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited about the next, what we call it, the second Honey Fund, like bringing that couple back for the next trip.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, vow renewal, even if it's just in general, like, what can I get you for Christmas this year?
Really,
I think
yeah.
it's great. I love it. I even personally wish, I almost wish, because there was one time when I was very busy with work, and my family always laughs, small story, but I was very busy with work. I didn't have time to shop for everyone's Christmas gift. So I bought everyone a cutting board, like a really nice customized cutting board. I thought everyone would really love it, but my family still laughs about it today. They were like, oh, 2017, the year of the cutting board. They all laugh now, because it's not that I didn't want to get them a good gift. I just didn't have also the time to like think about it. And I think that, to be honest with you, there's so many people, regardless if it's even just your wedding, you know, they want to get you something that you want. So I think that what you've created is really brilliant. So Sarah, is there anything that you feel like we didn't cover, or just in general that, you don't know what you don't know, just parting words for couples that are in the thick of it right now, planning their honeymoon or, travels?
Yeah. So first of all, the we talked at the beginning of this about how honeymoons can tend to be kind of an afterthought.
Hmm.
And I really feel like, you know, deciding early on how much of your budget is going to go towards the honeymoon and how much towards the wedding is super important. Like, do not do anything to plan your wedding until you have agreed to a budget. And,
Yeah.
if you have friends and family involved in contributing to that, talk to them, find out what they're kind of willing to contribute, and like make sure you understand what this total package is going to be before you make
Yeah.
a guest list, before you decide on a honeymoon destination, before you decide on a venue. Like you have to know like what you're working with because all of those other things get impacted by that decision, right?
Right.
So that's what I, really encourage couples to do. And then, if what you really want is an amazing honeymoon, then ask yourself like, are we willing to have a smaller wedding to make that happen? Or are we willing to have a honey fund? Do we feel good about putting that out there? There's also tons of other ways to finance a honeymoon. You can get, open a travel rewards credit card and start racking
Hmm.
up points. All the cost of your wedding can go on that card, which will get you tons more points. There's just lots of creative solutions out there when it comes to travel. But like start with a really like firm idea in mind of like how much you're going to spend. And we actually have a one-page wedding planner that helps you with that math and even kind of asks you
Hmm.
to consider like what are the big ticket items that you're going to start planning for on day one of your marriage? How much
Hmm.
money do you want left in the bank when you wake up the morning after your wedding?
Yes.
These
Oh my
kinds of
God.
questions
That's
are so important to think about before you even start making a guest list, before you choose a venue, before you get a whole attached to a whole idea of 250 people, you've really got to like have those tough conversations with yourself and with each other.
Mhm. Yeah, oh my gosh, Sarah, that's so brilliant because you're right. It's like, first comes the wedding and then comes potentially the honeymoon and then maybe you're buying a house. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. And I think that I love this because I feel like Honey Fund is more than obviously just planning your honeymoon. It's actually helping you to be really intentional with this big chapter in your life. And
totally.
I think that that intentionality is really what's going to support couples creating this really great experience and being able to go on this honeymoon stress free because they feel like they've had some of these tough conversations that, quite frankly, I think everyone should have before they get married, for sure.
Totally. And you have to like have an experience of knowing that you can tackle a big challenge together and come out the other
Hmm.
side in a way that you both feel good about. Like that's what marriage is. You know,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
making plans, facing life's challenges, and coming out the other side like we did a great job at that, right? And
Yeah,
practicing at it and getting better at it every day. And I always tell
yeah.
couples, the wedding planning process is actually a really good practice ground for marriage because
Hmm.
it's a big financial commitment. It involves lots of friends and family, so you have to practice boundaries.
Yeah,
And it also is like super emotional, right? So you have this like really amazing time in your life where you can practice like how good are we at handling these big things in our lives together.
yeah,
And a lot of times like one person's vision kind of takes over and becomes the runaway kind of like guiding force for the whole event.
sure.
And that's not a way to do a marriage. That's going to lead
Right.
to, resentment and problems down the line. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a really cool way to start practicing your marital skills.
I 100% couldn't agree more. And it's having these tough conversations so that you can enjoy the process later. And I just think
Yeah.
that's what makes it the whole platform. And little pro tip as well to the couples out there, you mentioned with the travel rewards credit card, which I think is actually brilliant, by the way. When you sign with your venue, you're going to also probably get points with the property as well that you're signing with that, I don't know how long it takes, but you could potentially also use that towards your future travel plans as well. So something to definitely keep in mind.
Yeah, I know Hilton's weddings division offers those kinds of perks where you can get like free nights for your honeymoon at another Hilton property or points into your honors account. So definitely if you're going to host your wedding at one of those, bigger hotel chains, look into what they're going to offer you on the back end.
Yeah, for sure. Because sometimes they'll offer even like double reward points or whatever if
Mhm.
you're using one of their cards. You definitely have to have a rewards membership things signed up. So make sure that you don't forget that
Yeah.
for
I'm such a
sure.
travel junkie. I sign up for literally every like airline, every hotel, every,
I can
rewards
only
program.
imagine, Sarah. You're probably like, I
Me
got
too.
this in the bank. I'm going to plan this trip with the purely points.
I've done that a lot, and thankfully, I mean, that's one of the perks of owning your own business is,
Yeah.
get the points you can use for travel. But yeah, I love the whole topic of like hacking travel with rewards,
Yeah.
points, and credit cards. I think it's such a fun little game to play.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm curious, what is one of your favorite honeymoon spots that you recommend coming from the
So
expert?
yeah, so oh God, I love this question. I just like an all-time MVP of romantic travel. I have to give it to Mexico because there's
Okay.
like so many amazing towns and resorts. And during COVID, they had it so dialed in. I went to Mexico 3 times during COVID and I never once got sick and I never once worried about
Wow.
anything. I know it gets a bad rap because of like, travel warnings around like crime and things like that, but really in the
Sure.
destinations like Cancun, Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, Playa del Carmen. People just live to serve you on your trip. I mean,
Yeah.
the culture is just so welcoming and so warm, and they really have it down. So I that would be like my all-time MVP. But I mean, most popular honeymoon destinations over the years for Honey Fund includes Mexico, but also Hawaii was our kind of all-time number one. Italy took over a couple years ago. This last year and this year is all about Asia. So Japan and Thailand are really
Wow.
popular this year.
Okay.
And then like Eastern Europe is really cool if you want a more affordable European getaway. Croatia, Turkey, the Republic of Georgia, where wine was invented in the Republic of Georgia. Like
Oh,
so
wow.
many
Didn't know that.
cool like places to discover with so much history that you just don't hear about every day. So yeah,
Hmm.
I mean it's the whole world is your oyster when it comes to your honeymoon. You get
Yeah.
like immediate approval on your time off because nobody can say no when you've gotten married in
Right.
two
Right.
take advantage of that. You've got all your
Yeah.
friends and family like loving on your honey funds. I mean, there's no excuse not to take an amazing honeymoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm totally with you. It's like, and if you don't plan it, I mean, I hate to say it to couples, but it's gonna go on the back burner. It's just if you don't plan it now, it's just
Yeah.
time's gonna go by. Like you mentioned, it's gonna be like the next life event's gonna happen. And before you know it, you've been married 5 years and you're like, oh, what about that honeymoon we never took, you know?
You know what?
All
You'd be
right.
surprised how many podcast interviews I've done where the host, whose job is to like be steeped in wedding stuff all day, every day, didn't actually take a honeymoon for themselves. It's
Oh
just
my
like,
God, that's hilarious. That was
yeah.
like such a priority for me. It was such a priority.
Even people
100%.
who are all about weddings sometimes just, miss it.
Isn't
So.
that funny? I don't know why that is. Maybe we're just so like laser focused on like that day, like getting through that day and those tasks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But I mean, the
I mean,
honeymoon is a lot. Our couples report that like planning the honeymoon is like so much more fun and so less stressful than planning the wedding.
yeah.
So it's like kind of
Yeah.
a little break in your day-to-day stress.
It's
So
almost
yeah.
like light at the end of the tunnel to look forward to, right? Because trust me, I'm
Oh yeah.
like Excel spreadsheeting budgets with them and reviewing contracts. And I'm like, I promise it gets more fun because it's in the
Yes.
beginning, it's very daunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, pour them a glass of wine and tell them about Honey Fun, and they'll thank you for a little
Yes,
moment of
they
stress.
will. They will. And soon enough, we'll be able to put our whole wedding website over there, the whole thing. So that's amazing, Sarah. You got some really great stuff going on. Definitely keep our team posted. And just for any listeners out there, so they can just go to the wedding website. I know that you also are on Instagram, all the socials in terms of being able to find more information.
Yep. They can find us on the app stores, honeyfund.com, and sign up for a free account. Doesn't cost you anything to check it out. And then, yeah, our Instagram and TikTok are really great places to find really inspiring content that touches on a lot of the themes we talked about today, as well as, just honeymoon travel tips, wedding planning tips.
Yeah.
So definitely follow us.
You've got a great team, by the way, even setting up your podcast. I mean, you've got an amazing team that's on it. They're very intentional. I really loved even conversing with them. So kudos to you for
Yeah.
building such a great internal operation.
Thank you. I'm very blessed. Awesome team at Honey Fund.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for your time. Can't thank you enough. And I hope that this encourages more couples out there to plan their honeymoon and to just enjoy it and be able to decompress from the big wedding weekend.
Thank you, Brittany, for the opportunity. It's been so much fun talking to you.
Yeah, same. Thanks, Sarah. Take care.
All right.